So how do you approach this event going forward?
So for the event itself, I wanted to kind of think about not only what I expected to see in terms of other decks, but also just how consistent could I make mine. I anticipated a lot of Keshi, I anticipated a lot of mirrors, and overall just maybe just a little bit of others. I didn't expect a lot of Ragnar, and I didn't expect a lot of Volcania. Surprisingly, there was a lot more Ragnar than expected, but a lot of Keshi as anticipated. I didn't expect it to be me being the only set, so I anticipated a little bit more mirror matches. But with that in mind, I tried to tech my deck a little bit differently to make sure there was a little bit more of a higher top end to help deal with the Keshi matchup a little bit better, and in the mirror too to make sure that my stat sticks are a little bit better than theirs. That's how I at least went in with the idea of like deck building and at least a few changes alongside one particular tech that I'll talk about probably in a little bit.
How did you approach Satin herself?
Satin plays very differently from a lot of the other commanders. Her energy and resource management is very different compared to a lot of the others. 4 max compared to at minimum 6 max for the others means that you have to manage your resources a lot harder. Even with the 10 bleed and the fact that she generates it a lot more compared to everyone else's, 1, 2 focus a turn, she gets potentially, I've had games where I've gone up to 6 or 7 a turn. Sometimes even more, I've had a turn where I've gone up to 8 in one turn. It's anticipating kind of that reaction. How much top end can you run? Because if you play a 4-cost card, that's your entire turn. And your 4-cost cards are relatively equivalent to the 4 costs of others. So you get a 4-cost and 2 more to work with. You do a 4-cost, your turn's over. So it becomes at that point a delicate balance of resource management. How many low costs can I run? How many high costs do I want to run? How do I anticipate some average turns might go? Like 3s and 1s, 2s and 2s, 4s, and some cheaper cards or free cards. It came down to a lot of energy management and building around that, especially around some key cards that I knew no matter what, I'm going to run these cards just because they're that good. Things like Kaido, things like Misdirection, things like Smoke Bomb. No matter what they are, I'm going to run the maximum amount of those. So then it becomes build around that, see what I'm missing, see what average turns might look like, and resource management around that, and including deck building around that. Would be kind of my thoughts, at least how I kind of built the deck in the way it was to try and make sure the resources and the turn by turn were going to be effective, with cards that will basically be useful throughout the entire game instead of relatively situational ones.
So how was the grudge match in the finals with the person you played in Swiss?
So it was fun. Originally we played in Swiss, last round of Swiss together. He had a very strong opener. Mine was relatively rough, no ways to really generate bleed, which for her, especially several turns of that, is very bad. We eventually still got to a pretty close end where if it was one more turn on my end, I might have been able to. But he top decked into something that gave access to a defender. I had no units on board, and it was what it is. That's game. Finals went a lot differently. He won die roll still. Satin prefers to go first because you don't need as many energy as the others. You build a hand super quick, and starting with 1 is fine, especially because she runs a ton of 1-drops. Blood Jars, Azaleas, Minatos. I have a ton of 1-drops. I don't mind going first at all. The extra 2 cards and playing the boat 1 turn earlier is better. He won, so my goal is to look for Miyugi. Didn't find Miyugi. So did have to start off with an Azalea Adrenaline, which is still better than it could be asked for. We kind of got into a game state where I was able to establish a Kaido relatively early, and he had a hard time getting rid of it, which kept him from playing low-cost units, because Kaido was just going to keep swinging into him and removing them for free because of the initiative. Daihatsu Kaizen also coming out and sticking around for the entire game is backbreaking for him. I wanted to play it a turn earlier, or almost 2 turns earlier, because it ended up in my starting hand. But I just could not find the time to do it. I was having to deal with other problems, or at least try and keep my units alive long enough to be able to deal with that. But once he came down and the fact that he could remove him, the extra damage on it, swinging 5, 6, 7, adding extra damage removal as well for not only myself but other units like the Kaido, made it a lot stickier for him to get rid of it. Removing a bleed from him, 1 damage off Kaido. Kaido removing a bleed from my actual reserves, another 2 damage block for free, essentially, for me. Very good way of just keeping the board intact. And between that and the other cards coming out, Midori eventually coming out, Blood Dragon, unfortunately did not get to make an appearance that game, but did well on all the rest of the way through Swiss. It eventually just got to the point where I had such control of the board, even when the Ikari came out and I had 2 initiatives, that it worked out. The only thing that I know I really misplayed on was on the final turn. It ended up not mattering, but in a longer game or a closer game it may have. Even with 1 blocker, there's no reason for me to have kept swinging at the blocker with the initiative units. Just swing it face, and no matter what, it only blocks 1 hit, and he still has to dedicate if he wants to keep it alive. So there's no reason to have dedicated it. I should have just kept going face. He blocks 1, has to save it, or not save it. the unit dies and the other 4 still go at face, compared to what ended up happening was I swung 2 at it, finally died, and now I only get 3 hits at face, less damage overall to the commander. So definitely a loss in that regard, but ended up being to the point where because the Kaido and the Yasu stuck around for so long, I had such control of the board that it didn't really matter, and we were able to go from there. Played very, very well. Even in Swiss, I could tell his like mathing the same way kind of I do it, where it's a lot of thinking ahead of what the opponent might do and predicting what can I force out of them, like from him trying to force me to use the bow over and over again instead of letting me stack it up. Did get to a point where later on I wasn't going to be able to one-shot things or just force removal on him without dedication from me, so that was good on his part. Same from him on me of predicting how many smoke bombs I had, especially in Swiss, once again, to make sure that I was kind of tapped out on resources and couldn't play Hikaris and Yatsus at the end of his turn, so it was forcing me to kind of play more defensive instead of being able to establish my own presence. So he played very well, had a great game. He had a great game, especially in Swiss, and even in finals, I still hope he did. He seemed he's very good sport afterwards, and we could really have a good time talking it out, and very much just overall had a wonderful time with it.
For the event, how did you approach coming to this?
So locally back in Cincinnati, Ohio, or Newport, Kentucky, which is right across the river, there's a shop called Thieves Guild Gaming, and we have a local group that's been excited about Soul Masters, and we've just been playing every week and trying to get good, get here. I decided to just run with Ragnar because a lot of people are running Keshi. My wife wanted Keshi, so I didn't have the cards for Keshi, and I'm like, I'll start playing around, playing different decks, and I settled on Ragnar. My motto there during the weeks is, I'm not here to play competitively, I'm here to try and play correctly, and just to try to get everyone on the same page and hopefully do well in the tournament, which we took 3 of the top 4 spots, and I think we did pretty well.
Tell me more about your flavor of Ragnar.
It's been a lot of fun building Ragnar. I love the duelist mechanic to be able to play out of the graveyard, basically. So I've chosen to run Silver Moon Camp a lot of the time instead of Onyx Temple. Just because, just build that graveyard up and try and Feral Frenzy if I need to wipe the board. Obviously Jacqueline's an almost auto-include. She's been a great finisher. I found that I've been holding her back more often and just maybe late game. Let's see, some of the weird choices I've been making is Flash to rest a duelist with taunt, so I can get their power if I just play them and I have the taunt access. It's been a lot of fun with that. It actually came in clutch in the top 2 in the earlier game today, and didn't need it, but it definitely solidified my win. What other stuff? Actually, I came around today to card disadvantage to myself. I never played Ambush until this weekend. I love it. Zero cost, extra 3 damage, prevent 3 damage, your choice. And then my strategy against the Keshi decks that have been all over the field, like I think half our locals play them, has been just try and rush as fast as I can. I end up playing quite a few characters with Execute, just to keep their shadows off the board, just to keep their low-cost units off the board. And any unit that hits the field on Keshi, I just work to get rid of. But then, if they run out of steam, I have a discard to work out of. So everything kind of just evens out for it.
Tell me a little bit about the top 4.
Top 4 was great. I actually played against, in the semifinals, I played against kind of one of my rivals that got me out to the community. And every game that we have against each other is just either super close or just, it ends up being a blowout for one of us. Unfortunately today for him, I just had the good luck and pretty great drops into my discard pile off of Grace, and ended up getting a lot of big damage hitters in there without even really meaning to. Uh, then the finals, another local, Gage, great guy, and I had to go on the rush as much as I could, but we were just both so exhausted, hoping we could just keep everything on the board that we could with it. And then just ended up getting a few more big hits in, and some really lucky discard drops in the end. It was kind of nervous with running out of cards in my discard pile, and then 2 graces, 6 cards, and maybe 1 point of shield in there.